is the potential link between solar activity and cycles of war. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a coincidence to see the spat of shootings in Portland. Tensions. There's also a lot of people arguing amongst each other, a lot of breakups. In many cases, folks, we are affected by some of the energetic things going on our planet. And so it's not as simple as some people would like to make it. A lot of people are trying to appease their own comfort zone and belief systems that it's really that simple. We really can just look at this and ignore what's going on with our economy. Ignore how perhaps our society is affected energetically by endless wars against, of course, the innocent, the weak, the women, the children, and this has become commonplace in our society, especially since 9/11. And we look at 1.4 million and growing dead Iraqis and Afghanis, and a lot of people literally putting up their coat that used to be in the anti-war movement because we have a different president whose last name is not Bush. And so there are reasons why we are descending into tyranny. The Oregon Firearms Federation website reports a city such as Portland does have the right under Oregon state law to impose laws that are stricter than the laws for the state. And then you see the ignorance out there, the comments on these articles about blacks, very racist, very narrow-minded in their ability to understand why certain people in certain circumstances mimic their environment, are influenced by their environment, their peers, and of course, as we'll talk about more tonight, pop culture. So gang violence is rising not only in Portland, but across the United States in response to the manufactured economic decline, the decadent state of our nation at this point in time. On a sexual level, however, young women are at risk more and more these days from attack. And a lot of this mind control about what roles we play in society come from pop culture, come from music, come from artists like Lady Gaga. But in terms of the apathy factor of it's not going to happen to me, or it's really not that big of a problem, or anyone that warns me about it is negative, these belief systems, these walls we put up, these blocks we put up, are not helping the situation. Moving on to the sex trafficking problem in Portland, Oregon. Portland's dark world of child sex trafficking. This report's from the Washington Post. Portland, Oregon is widely featured as a young, green, hip city, highly progressive, highly conscious. It also has gained a reputation as a national hub for child sex trafficking. Portland's legal commercial sex industry is the biggest per capita in the country, according to a report by researchers at Willamette Law School's International Human Rights Clinic. Former CBS News anchor Dan Rather once called the city Pornland. The city has more strip clubs per capita than glittery Las Vegas and a tolerant attitude towards sex, both legal and illegal. Combining these facts, the demand for sex workers, the city's geography, us being in proximity to I-5, that provides easy access for traffickers, and its reputation as a progressive, youth-oriented community attracting runaways, creates a toxic brew rivaling the notorious red light district of Amsterdam. Victims of domestic minor sex trafficking have been picked up in every major city in the country and in many rural areas as well. Those walking the track on Portland's 82nd Avenue are often children exploited in their own hometown. Recent FBI stings gave Portland its much disputed rating as second in the U.S. for domestic minor sex trafficking. Portland's legal commercial sex trade, tolerant attitude, and lack of zoning laws makes the city an origin and a destination for sex traffickers. While Seattle has 4 strip clubs and Dallas, another trafficking hotspot, has 3, Portland has more than 50 all-nude strip clubs within city limits. One directory lists 40 erotic dance clubs, 47 all-nude strip clubs, and 35 adult businesses and 21 lingerie modeling shops. Janice Cruz, president of Concerned Women for America, says more and more the people looking to buy sex are looking for younger and younger kids. Elisa Lopez is a survivor of the child sex trafficking system of Portland. Her mother was a prostitute who ran a massage parlor, a front for legal sex trade. At Alicia's 13th birthday party, her mother sold her to a man for $5,000 to feed a drug habit. Elisa was given to the man as his personal sex slave. He took what he thought he owned and raped me multiple times, she says. The Port City's easy access from 2 major highways makes our city an obvious hub for the Interstate I-5 corridor, a common trafficking route that stretches from California to Washington State. This leads traffickers to Portland's many homeless children and runaways, 1/4 to 1/3 of whom are solicited by pimps within 48 hours of being on the street. Underage victims are often listed online, making them vulnerable to an even wider market. So there's a variety of things at play here. Most of all, though, is our city's history. If you look back in the 50s, the city of Portland was brought up on corruption charges right before Congress, and it came out that they were running over 500 brothels in this country, in the city. This city has a history of Shanghai's, as you know, with the tunnels, but also the Chinese as well. There were some murders that took place in the Northwest after the Chinese worked on the railroad. So we also have that history of death and mass graves in outer East Portland. There was a book that was written about it last year that documents this. There was also some lynchings that took place in Seattle, and there was also a highly publicized situation. I can't remember the year it was exactly, but I believe it was in the 1880s, where the mayor of Portland actually made a stand and said he would not support any lynchings, any racism, killings, murders of the Chinese, which was very popular at that time. The KKK had a much stronger hold on the state of the Oregon State government at that time and elsewhere throughout the country, and so. This also helped shape the immigration laws and policies that were enacted. At one point, there were more Chinese than whites in Idaho. This was one of the reasons why they enacted the highly strict immigration policy. And so we see a history of darkness overlapping our city. And also, for those of you that are older than I, in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of mobsters and drug trafficking that brought their China White, high grade of heroin, up to this area at that time period because of the easy access to Portland through the I-5 corridor. What I've talked about for 5 years has been what? The surveillance society, economic meltdown, wars being launched, basically our society becoming more decadent, almost mind control on TV. On the microcosmic level, looking at Portland, the problems now with the youth, the gang violence, and all the violence on TV and its influence upon the youth, we also look towards the women and the challenges that they face. And I've been feeling this way, especially the last 3 years, that when the economy melts down, it's open season on Portland, Oregon. Already there's more organized crime groups moving to the city, and I intuitively feel that there's going to be more powerful groups moving to the city in the near future. Now vice is being eliminated on many levels in Portland, while they're allocating the police to chase people like you and me and pull us over and take our vehicles if we don't have our tags up to date or our vehicle registered with the state, which actually in a way just gives them your property if you study how that really operates. It's completely immoral. It's not what the police are supposed to be doing, but this is the situation that we're facing. And I walk up to police all the time and bring up these issues with them, telling them that I'm concerned about women's safety and the need to come together and develop some sort of a plan. And most people actually laugh at me. And so one of the reasons why I see a lot of this stuff prevalent is the way that people treat me. And the reason I bring up my own personal experiences, sometimes experiences dating the opposite sex in the city, is to hammer home the point that even yours truly and the message that I present is not appreciated nor in many ways understood by my fellow peers in Portland, Oregon. Many women step away from my reality and my world when they find out about what I talk about on the TV show, even though I'm much more relaxed off the air. And it's been a repetitive confirmation that what's scarier than some of the stuff going on is the person that's warning you about these things coming to fruition. And the reason why I bring up these things happening in society is for not only people to get prepared, but to educate their children about this world that they live in, to keep them away from mind control software operations out there, like the Lady Gaga videos or some of the other things that are out there in the world that influence our behaviors and our understanding of ourselves and others, because this is a spiritual war, and they want to keep us off balance, and they're hurting our sisters, destroying and burning, sacrificing the goddess. They want us stuck. Now, if we want to deny that, we are a part of the problem. Now, we're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but here's this headline: Portland man charged in forced prostitution of a 13-year-old. Trafficked her to 3 states. The FBI is involved: Washington, California, and Nevada, where he forced her into prostitution and beat her when she resisted. Now, throughout times of war, and what it comes down